Okay, so in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to create a circular pattern out of a body in Shapr3D. Now, in the last tutorial in the series, we learned how to create these cuts or these seams that you see in the rocket body right here. Now, in this tutorial, what we're going to learn how to do is create these rectangular patterns that circle around the rocket body that you see down here. And this logic is really important whenever you're working with circles or cylinders. For example, over in Lightloop here, notice this satellite and notice these panels that circle around the cylinder right here. And again, obviously, we're going to be working with this rocket body today. And this is another good example. Notice that not only do you see these panels that wrap around the rocket body right here, but we also have the fins at the bottom of the rocket right here, which also wrap around the cylinder shape. So today, this is essentially what we're going to learn how to do in Shapr3D. And again, if you don't have this rocket body image to use as a reference image, you can just download it from the description below and then just ensure that you have front view selected and then click on insert and then image and then insert the image and position it perfectly centered on your canvas like I have right here. Okay, and with that done, what we'll do now is we'll create this cylinder shape. We'll just do this really quickly. Let's just click on sketch, and then what we'll do here is we'll click on rectangle and we'll ensure that diagonal rectangle is selected. And then we'll sketch out half of our rocket shape right here. And with that done, what we'll do here is we'll just exit sketching and then we'll search for revolve by using the search icon over here. And then what we'll do after selecting revolve is we'll just select the face that we want to revolve, and then we'll select the axis that we want to revolve the face around. Okay, so now with that done, we have to figure out how to get these small rectangles added to the body of our main rocket body. And like most things in Shapr3D, there's going to be multiple ways to do this. So in today's tutorial, I'm actually going to show you a few different ways. So probably the easiest way to do this is just to select your top face here. And then what we'll do is we'll select sketch. Or of course, we can just hit the space bar on our keyboard, and then that will bring us to the sketch plane for the surface. And with that done, what we'll do now is we'll select this option for rectangle, and then we'll ensure that rectangle center is selected. And then what we'll do here is we'll just sketch a small rectangle right here. Okay, so now we can exit sketch mode. Now, one of the things that I want you to notice now is that because of this cylinder line right here, the rectangle that we just drew is now cut in half. You'll see this half here and this other half here. Now, the reason why this is important is because this cylinder shape, of course, is curved. So taking this approach is going to help us create an accurately curved line in this half of the rectangle here. So now when we click on the face of this rectangle by just moving around and then selecting this face right here, and then we extend this face downwards, it's going to extend and properly mold itself around the cylinder, as you can see right here. Again, we covered this in a previous tutorial, but at this stage, it's also important to remember to ensure that new body is selected by clicking on this icon here and then selecting new body. And then if that's done, we can now simply select this body and then move it around our cylinder vertically wherever we want. And notice now, if I zoom in a bit here, that the back of our new shape accurately fits to the shape of this cylinder. Now, if I wanted to bring it down to the base of my rocket where my white rectangles are down here, what I could do is I could just select my rocket body and then I could select this display mode icon here. And then I could just turn it temporarily from shaded to X-ray in order to get my positioning right. But I'm actually not going to place it down here for the moment because I want to show you multiple ways to do this. So I'm just going to leave it up here for now and then turn the display mode back to shaded so we can use the cylinder as a sort of educational canvas to play with different approaches here. Okay, so now we have the shape on our cylinder. So how do we revolve this body that we just created around the main rocket body here? Well, this process is very simple and straightforward. All we need to do is grab the new body that we just created in the elements tree, and then we need to go to this search element here, and we'll do a search for pattern circular. Now with that selected, you'll see that we can now start to rotate our new body around our main rocket body. However, there is one important step before we rotate this body that we just created. Because if we just started rotating it right now, notice that the shape will just rotate around itself. And that's obviously not what we want at all. And the reason why it's doing that is because its center is rotating around its own center point, which is represented by this white dot right here. So it's just rotating around this point. So in order for us to rotate the body, around the center of the rocket body, instead, we need to grab this white dot here and we just need to place it in the middle of our rocket, not the small body that we just created over here. So let's just grab that dot here and then we'll drag it to the center of our canvas on this axis line right here. Now, when we do that, it should snap into position. And then from here, what we can do is we could set this value to total. We'll select 4 as our quantity, and then we'll select rotated as the value over here. Now we can simply grab this rotation arrow here and we can rotate around our rocket body by 360 degrees. And then once we're done, we can just click on this button right here. So that's the first way of creating a pattern around a circular body like a cylinder. But in these tutorials, as I mentioned, I always like to try to show you more than one way to do something. So let me show you an alternative approach now. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to click anywhere on a blank area of our canvas here until we see this icon for construct. And then we'll click on construction plane. And then again, we'll click on offset construction plane. Then what we want to do is we want to position this construction plane in the front of our design here. So we'll select this default plane as our reference plane. And again, if you can't see these default planes, just disable the image or disable the rocket body so they're more easily visible. And then once you have that default plane selected, what you'll need to do is you'll need to offset this construction plane by just pulling it out a little bit right here. And then when you're done, you can just click on done. Then what we'll do is we'll select the new construction plane and we'll just pull it up to about halfway up the rocket's body. So what we'll do now is we'll select our new plane and then we'll either press sketch or just hit the space bar on your keyboard. And then from here, what we'll do is we'll simply select rectangle center. And then what we'll do is we'll draw a small rectangle here. And then after that, we'll exit sketch mode. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to extrude this rectangle's face up just a little bit here. Essentially, what we have here now is a shape very similar to the rectangle shape that we were building out before. But rather than constructing the shape from the top geometry of the cylinder, we've now designed this shape on its own dedicated construction plane. So now what we can do is we can simply select the entire body and then push that body into the main rocket's body. Now, notice when we do that, we're going to have some extra geometry that we have to push into the rocket body in order to accommodate the curve of the cylinder. So we have a little bit of extra geometry pushed into the rocket body here. And in and of itself, this isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. For example, if we decided to shell this main rocket body out here, the geometry that we're pushing into the body could compete or cause complications with the internal walls of the cylinder. However, these are things that you can work around with proper planning. So I want to show you two things really quickly now. First, how we can take the exact same approach as we did previously by just rotating the shape around the main rocket body by searching first for the circle pattern tool and then selecting the object we want to rotate and then moving the white dot here into the center of our rocket's body again. And then from here, we can now just rotate the shape around the rocket body. Now, we can obviously change the number of items to pattern by changing this number here as well. That will make a big difference. And then whenever we're ready, we can just click on done. But another thing that we can actually do here, and one of the reasons why we might have decided to keep that extra geometry that we pushed into the rocket in the first place, is because we might want to not add, but instead subtract that material from the main rocket's body. So I'm just going to grab this entire circular pattern folder here from the sidebar, and then I'm going to search for subtract through this search box right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ensure that each one of these rotated bodies have a subtraction sign on them, and I'm going to ensure that my main rocket body has a plus sign on it. Now, once I've done that, I can just select done here. And as you can see, rather than having that extra geometry inside the rocket's walls, now we've used it instead to cut these rectangular sections out of the rocket body. Okay, now lastly, I want to show you one more approach which I think you'll find really, really helpful for many different design use cases. Again, if we were to jump back into Lightloop, you'll see I have variations of this rocket right here. And notice that in all of my variations, I have these rocket fins at the base of the rocket. You'll see them right here. Again, this is another case where we would need to find a way to wrap these fins around a cylindrical object. Now, my point being here is that we don't just use the circle pattern tool to create things like panels. We can also use this tool to help us position more complex geometry around our main body as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start off similar to our last approach. What we'll do is we'll just add a new offset construction plane right here, and then we'll move it up a little bit. I'll just grab it and then push it up so that it's just under our last two rotation examples that you'll see here and here. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll select this new plane and we'll hit spacebar on our keyboard. And next we'll sketch a center rectangle on this plane. But remember, we're creating these longer fins here, so we'll need to make the rectangle shape a little bit longer. Then what we'll do is we will exit sketch mode here, and then we're going to just extrude this rectangle a little. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to really quickly sketch out a basic fin shape here to use as my example. So just give me 1 second, and I'm just going to quickly sketch this out right now. Okay, so this shape here isn't perfect, but it's going to give us something to work with. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little different. Now, as you saw, the problem with the last approach was that if we pushed this new object in close to the body, it wouldn't sit flush against the surface of the rounded cylinder. Now, the way we got around that was to actually push the shape in just a little bit further, but this would cause some excess geometry inside the rocket body itself. But there's actually another way. Now let me pull this body out just a little bit here. And now what I can do is I can position the rectangular body just close to the surface of the rocket body without touching it. Next, what I'll do is I'll select this face right here. And then what I'll do is I'll search for a tool called Replace Face. This is a very, very helpful tool, and you'll find yourself using it a lot in Shapr3D. Okay, what you'll notice now is that the face that I just selected is this bluey green color. And now all I need to do is select the face that I want to match. Now, in this case, I'll select my main rocket body right here. And when I do that, look at what happens. It essentially extends the geometry of the fin so that it fits flush on the curved surface of the rocket body. So what I'll do here is I'll just click on OK, and now you can see how this looks. Notice now that there is no extra geometry here and that the edges all sit flush against the rocket body. Now what we can do is we can just go through the same steps as before and pattern this entire fin around the rocket's body. I'll just select 3 from this input field here, and then I'll just rotate it around 360 degrees. Okay, so that was a few different ways that you can create circular patterns in Shapr3D. I hope that you found this helpful, and I hope that it helps you with your own product designs. And remember, if you're a hardware designer, be sure to check us out over at Lightloop. We offer a suite of AI product design tools that allow people like you to describe your product vision through text, images, or rough sketches, and our platform will create beautiful images, flattened 2D CAD-ready geometry, videos, and 3D renders of your product for you. So if this sounds interesting to you, be sure to check us out over at Lightloop. A link can be found in the description below. Thanks for stopping by today, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this helpful. It helps the channel a lot. I hope to see you over in the next one.